Good morning, New Zealand. It is Monday morning, start of a new week. Welcome to Daybreak. Good morning, it's the 19th of May. Let me just check my volume to make sure my microphone is working. It is. Welcome, everybody. A few people have already said good morning. Morning, Trinity and Jackie. I can't get through all the list. Never mind. Morning to you all. Start of a new week. Hope you had a great weekend. Lots to cover, so let's get straight into it. Firstly, Andrea Vance from Stuff. She said she's sorry. The only problem is that she's not actually sorry for what offended everybody, which of course was the C word. She said, I invoked it intentionally to reflect the seriousness of the situation. You see, apparently, according to female journalists who hate misogyny towards female politicians and anybody that they like Jacinda, apparently you can use it, you can be misogynistic if it's to intentionally reflect the seriousness of the situation. She goes on to say, apparently, that a number of female politicians were fronting a policy intentionally rolling back protections meant to ensure women are paid fairly for their work. Well, you may think it's serious, Andrea, but that doesn't give you the green light to be misogynistic and to use one of the most offensive words and a derogatory term towards females as well. She says, I dared to call out female government MPs as those prepared to be a C. Not was a C and not is a C. I didn't call anyone a C word. Yeah, it's called denial. It's when you basically, if you say someone, you're saying they're prepared to be a, whatever the offensive word is, you're effectively calling them that offensive word. And then she talks about, MPs who have spent 18 months fostering vicious online Māori bashing over legislation that went nowhere. So somehow she's got it back to the Treaty Principles Bill. And then she even turns the attention away from blaming the media and says, our lawmakers have steadfastly refused to hold social media companies to account or meaningfully tackle the polarisation of our society and discourse. It was a classic piece in what you call gaslighting. It's basically pointing the finger at anybody else except yourself. Now, the editor also, and the editor is who I complain to, Tracy Watkins, she also put out a excuse sheet, which wasn't really worth reading. But she did make this interesting point. She said, sometime around midday Monday, after I received a complaint from Family First, thank you, my inbox was flooded with angry correspondence. Many called me the C word. Well, she's trying to link Family First supporters with using foul language, which of course I say rubbish. Wouldn't happen. I know you lot. I know you wouldn't sink to that level. But hey, Tracy, if it's not an offensive word, why are you offended by it? Anyway, she says, well, I'm not one of those journalists who complains about the abuse that's dished out to me, or for that matter, female politicians. We have a public platform, so it comes with the territory. Complaining, I believe, smacks too much of our privilege. But Tracy, stuff constantly goes on about misogyny towards female MPs. Maybe it's just people not actually being misogynistic. They just don't like the policies of those politicians, whether they're male or female, because male politicians get it just as much as females. Anyway, so it was the excuse that never was. Interestingly, the Green budget has sort of shot itself in the foot. And interestingly enough, the New Zealand Herald called it out and said that it's delusional. And part of the problem is that apparently the super tax that the Greens want to target at those nasty rich people, apparently it would actually reduce after-tax income for, get this, registered nurses. Yes, females. Yes, that equity only goes so far according to the Greens. Those earning over 120,000, you're going to be paying 39% of it to the government to waste. For anyone earning more than 180,000, almost half of your earnings, 45%, are going to be sent to the government. because governments love spending other people's money. If you're living mortgage-free in Auckland, then it's time to pay up, says the Green co-leaders. Oh, and they said that the $88 billion figure that they're going to raise in taxes actually was understated. It's probably closer to $99 billion. Yep, that's another $11 billion that taxpayers need to pay. It's 30 times more new tax than Labor proposed in 2020. And we know how much Labor loves taxing. So it's been an interesting thing. The Herald concluded by saying the Greens have increasingly become a protest party and by proxy a protest vote. Tamitha Paul's public disdain for the police is evidence enough this year. You could add Benjamin Doyle to that and the Green Party co-leaders and quite a few of the Green Party anyway. So that was very interesting. Interesting article on hospices over the weekend by Max Rashbrook. And basically saying, I thought the opening statement was interesting. Just as people should be able to live well, so too should they be able to die well. But even that basic dignity is under threat from the slow-moving disaster unfolding in our health system. Yep, that's always our argument as well. Fund hospices, world-class hospice care, and we won't need things like euthanasia. People can die with dignity. And of course, they say that, a decade or so back, state funding met about 70% of hospice care. Now it's less than half of their budgets. And they say the terrible irony is that if hospices have to cut back on the care they provide to people at the end of life, those individuals will simply require more hospital beds, emergency department visits, and ambulance call-outs. And that is true. The more you cut back on basic hospital services, then unfortunately you put pressure on other areas of the health system. This story, interesting, in the United States. Remember that minister, what was her name? Marian Buddle. Remember in Washington, D.C., she preached a sermon to Trump just after he got elected at the beginning of the year, sworn in. And she urged mercy on migrants. Well, the only problem is that the Episcopal Church has decided that they are going to refuse to settle legal refugees from South Africa, citing the church's long-standing commitment to racial justice and reconciliation. Apparently, the racial justice doesn't extend to white people. Yes. And so that's the problem with social justice. The Episcopal Church has defined it in a different way. The church leaders have said, well, they're not going to take any more government funding because they said, in light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take the step. So they will deal with, what have they done? 110,000 illegal immigrants into the country. They've given social justice to them into the US, but as soon as 59 white legal migrants or refugees come in, suddenly they want nothing to do with it. Of course, there are concerns in South Africa, rising crime rates and a contentious land reform law which was passed at the end of last year. And the law apparently allows the South African government to expropriate land without compensation to address historical inequalities. One commentary I saw said, after decades of partnering with the US government to serve refugees, the Episcopal Church in the US ended the relationship because the Trump administration asked them to serve refugees whose plight contradicts the woke left's grand narrative. Episcopal Migration Ministries has resettled almost 110,000 people across the US, and the church had touted its assistance to undocumented immigrants, aka illegal immigrants, but serving 59 white South Africans who came to the US legally apparently was a bridge too far. Apparently serving whites who escaped danger at the hands of black South Africans would cut against the church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation. They've tripped over their own wokeness. Speaking of wokeness, in Australia, Catholic school is in trouble after a 13-year-old student who had pretended, it was a dude, a boy, had transitioned from male to female, competed in the sports at the school. And guess what? Smashed a raft of school sporting records. While taking part in a sports day, the student broke the long-standing girls' record in the high jump, discus, several running events, and set a school javelin record of 20.58 metres, which was more than 3 metres longer than the previous record. That's 15% better than the previous girls' record. The transgender girls' performance, so the boys' performance on the day, was so dominant that basically parents and female students were getting upset. The Australian newspaper understands that the Catholic school in question has been fearful of being identified, not surprisingly. And the Catholic Education Office responsible for all Catholic schools in the state has said only that it is unable to comment on individual cases due to privacy consideration. We're not interested in the individual, we're interested in the policy, because it's the policy that's the problem. And the problem is that the Education Minister in the state, South Australia, says that kids can compete according to their identity. So it's at the government level that's a problem, but the Catholic school probably needs to get some backbone and stand up against it, and maybe just make their rules quite clear that it's based on biology, sort of biblically based biology, as a Catholic school would say. Actually, I'll come back to that Catholic issue, because there's some good news out of that. I saw this story that apparently an Australian LGBT group has said, be careful if you've got the gender X on your passport when going into the US. It's because the US has gone back to biology and there's only 2 sexes. And remember, MFAT in New Zealand were panicking people, saying that if you go to the US, it's going to be terrible and you're going to be pulled aside and they're going to inspect all your laptops and mobile phones. And if you've dared said anything bad about President Trump, you're going to get pulled aside. Of course, it's all hogwash. I would just say, put up or shut up. There's no evidence of it happening. I know a number of people who've gone through the United States recently, and it's just as slow as it's always been. But this is probably the real reason for it. Speaking of interesting media coverage, you will see this story in the media, or you may have already seen it. Braindead pregnant US woman is being kept alive due to the abortion ban. Now think of the underlying message here. Basically, you have a woman, it's a sad story, a woman who is brain dead, but she's pregnant, and so they are keeping her alive so the baby can survive. But the narrative is, because it's around abortion and because Trump is bad, therefore we should kill the unborn child because the mother is brain dead. So let's kill 2 people. That seems to be the message. But here's the fact check. And I actually posted this on One News and News Talk ZB's Facebook pages when they were parroting the same narrative on their website. Apparently in Georgia, which is the state where it is, removing a pregnant woman from life support does not constitute an abortion, as defined by the Georgia Life Act, which is what the media are currently blaming. They're saying it's due to the abortion ban. And secondly, due to a law passed in 2007, removing a pregnant woman from life support is not legal in Georgia unless her preborn child isn't viable, but obviously this one is viable, and she additionally has an advance directive. Now, and this law was passed while Roe v. Wade was still the law of the land. Now, here's the key thing. The mother, the sad case of the brain dead pregnant mother, she knew she was pregnant. And guess what? She chose not to abort. What do we think her wishes would have been? But that narrative is not taken up. No, this is all because of an abortion ban, and we should have the right to kill the unborn child because Trump, abortion, red flags, Trump derangement syndrome. Anyway, if you want to read more on that, Live Action, Lila Rose's website has the fact check, and that's where I've got some of the data. Here's some breaking news, team. In a Friday address, the Pope has affirmed the Church's definition of family as being founded on the stable union between a man and a woman. Yes, quite incredible. He also said both unborn children and the elderly had inherent dignity as creations of God, and the pronouncements offer a clear articulation, according to Yahoo News, of core Catholic teachings on marriage and abortion. Actually, in this report, it was a bombshell that the Pope has dared to repeat biblical teachings. Yes, the media are all in a spin. Speaking of, just before we go, speaking of some interesting media coverage, riveting news out of the Obama household. Apparently, Michelle and Barack battle over the thermostat. No other married couple has battled over the thermostat. So that is breaking news. Oh, and another bit of breaking news was One News had a special feature on their roving reporter, Logan Church in the US, who met I think I did see it. It was about 3 Republicans who regret their voting for Trump. Now, given that 77,284,118 people voted for Trump, and Logan Church from One News has found 3 that regret it, that means Logan only needs to find 77,284,115 more to prove that the election should be overturned. And perhaps while he's at it, he can find all the people who were sucked in by the media that President Biden had all his faculties while he was president as well. That was my challenge to Logan Church on social media. You can see I had a bit of fun over the weekend. Anyway, we're going to have a bit of fun tonight on Straight Talk, because we're going to talk about are digital IDs from the devil? That is one topic we're going to talk about. We've got Susan, Simon, Michael and Elliot. So that is going to be a fun discussion. And also dropping today is the episode of McBlog where I look at the UNICEF report, which shows that our suicide rates are the highest in the OECD. Our bullying rates are the second highest. And our kids are not that happy compared to other kids in other OECD countries. What are the solutions? The government says they're going to spend more money. Well, in McBlog, I say it's totally missing the point. What are the real solutions? It's actually around family and marriage. But, you know, that's not the kind of the narrative that goes down. Alrighty, just before I go, let's just check lots of comments coming through. Yeah, Ray says, I don't think the C word in the article was the actual issue. It was the girl math comment that was misogynistic. They tried to pretend it wasn't actually. Gardner Gone Wild is having a good morning in Kapiti Coast. Morning to you. Somebody says, keep up the good work, but I can't see it because there's a thing in the way. Oh, Adrian. Thank you, Adrian. And let me just check this page. We have Alex says the left don't like this new Pope, all the more reason to love him. That's true. Natalia says Trump is not for abortion, but staying out of it and leaving those decisions to individual states. That's true. But if you can bring the word Trump or Nazi or something like that in, then you can sort of get a negative label. Kirstine says, I'll leave you with this one. Kirstine says 8 out of 5 economists agree with the green budget. Brilliant. Thank you, Kirstine. That's a classic. All right, we're out of time. Well out of time. Have a great day. Simon will be here tomorrow morning with Solid Ground for a bit more in-depth analysis because he's far brighter than I am. And we'll see you tonight on Straight Talk at 8 o'clock. Have a great day.